What's going on, guys? My name is Lieben, and today I'm going to be changing basically the whole hydraulic system for the clutch on my 350Z. So really quickly, I just want to go ahead and go over the stuff that I got that I will be replacing. This car, I've been having a lot of issues where the clutch pedal sticks to the ground, and I've seen a lot on forums online that it says that these cars didn't have the best hydraulic system from factory. So I've gotten tired of having to bleed the car basically like every winter, because that's when it happens. So I'm hoping that by being able to replace both, this right here is the master cylinder, I also have the slave cylinder, as well as all of the steel braided lines. I'm hoping that while upgrading all that, I won't have to constantly be having to do this process every year. So starting off here, like I said, this right here is the master cylinder. It is Tilton brand. Honestly, I don't know that much about this brand. I'm just hoping that it is an upgrade and that it works quite a bit better than the one that it has now. So quickly opening it up, there you can see it says Tilton right there. Yeah, like I said, pretty much there's that. Have some adapters here, and then all of the hardware that we'll need to bolt it on. So pretty basic stuff. I have had to replace it. I've made a video, it's on my YouTube channel, of back when I had to replace the master cylinder. Last time this happened, I just did a basic OEM one. So now I'm going to go ahead and replace it with this guy. So there is the master cylinder. Also with that Tilton, it also comes with a bracket here. I believe it's because the layout right here, how it goes in connected towards the car, is not the same way where the holes are on the firewall on the car. So this basically allows you to bolt it onto the master cylinder on one side, and then on the other side allows you to actually secure it into the car. Once you go inside of it and underneath where all the pedals are, you'll bolt it on. Next thing on the line, I am not going to go ahead and take all these things out of the package just because as I'm working on a car, you'll be able to see it. But this right here is a Z1 Motorsports slave cylinder. So I just got Z1's brand. I don't know if it's just OEM rebranded or what, but I mean, it just looked like a solid slave cylinder. I don't know how much different you can do on a slave cylinder. I imagine it's a pretty basic concept. So hopefully it just works better. That's my main thing why I didn't go with OEM this time. So yeah, this is the slave cylinder. Then really quickly, this is just a bracket that will hold down one of the hydraulic lines on like the firewall. I believe I will have to go ahead and take off the what is the splash shield of the driver's side front tire so you can run the lines down. So this will actually just, you know, be bolted down and hold the line. And then we have this line right here. This is the line that will actually go connected to the slave cylinder. So this is part of the braided line right here, and it looks like it also comes with instructions, so that's always helpful. And then we have the other part of the line. This is the one that actually goes from the master cylinder, and it's going to go down, and I believe eventually it connects to this one. I want to say, haven't really looked that much into it, but yeah, these are both, I want to say, Z1 brand as well. Yeah, it's just Z1 branded steel braided lines, so it's pretty basic, and you guys can see it comes with the hardware as well to go ahead and attach it. They both do. So yeah, it's not that many parts. Like I've said, I've had to replace both the slave cylinder and master cylinder before. It's pretty basic stuff. I did have a little bit of issues last time actually bleeding the system. It's just pretty annoying sometimes when it comes to that, when the air gets trapped inside. So hopefully with these ones right here, it goes a little bit smoother and I don't have to struggle as much. But yeah, so the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is actually bleed the, I believe it's .3 brake fluid that the system uses. So I'm just going to go down to where the slave cylinder is and crack up the bleeder valve, and then just let the fluid drain from there. And then after that, we can start with taking everything off. Okay, so here we are underneath the car. Here is the slave cylinder. It is on the left hand side of the transmission right here. So the bleeder valve is this guy right there. It has a little rubber boot, so we'll go ahead and take that guy off. And then here you can see the bleeder valve. Now I have to see what size it is. Okay, it looks like it is an 8mm. So now what I grabbed is just the water bottle, and I'm gonna see if I can fit it in here so that it drops in there, and if not, I might need to get some sort of funnel, but it looks like it is a perfect fit there. Probably should have used a different wrench so that I would have been able to take it out. Now it's kind of stuck therein. I guess I could close it back up and use a different wrench, but you know, it's dribbling down, so should be done here in about an hour or so. Okay, so of course, as I was editing this video, I realized that the file for the next clip was corrupted and I was not able to recover it. It just didn't work. So instead of showing you what I'm doing here, I'm just gonna have to explain it. So basically, after all of the clutch fluid drained out, I just had to remove the actual slave cylinder. First thing I did is that banjo bolt that is in that red circle. I went ahead and loosened that up, and then I took the hose off, and just be careful because there might be some fluid still left in there that will drip out, so just make sure you have like still the bottle or something where it can drip down to, and that it doesn't, you know, damage some paint underneath the car. But yeah, after setting that off to the side, then I went ahead and removed the 2 bolts that are in that yellow box. So now those are the 2 bolts that are actually holding on the slave cylinder to the transmission housing. Can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say they were either 10 or 12 millimeter bolts, something like that. So I went ahead and broke those loose as well, took those off, and after that, I mean, basically the slave cylinder just falls right out. But yeah, there really isn't much to that process. It's super easy. So now we can go ahead and return back to the video. Okay, so the next step now is going to be to finish disconnecting this line right here, which is the one that when connected to the slave cylinder. So on the new line, it actually has a hex head right there that actually lets you loosen it from this end. This old line does not. It's just a solid line, and it has a metal bracket, but there's no way of grabbing onto it. So it looks like the way we're gonna have to disconnect it is with the top line right here. Also be very careful because these ones tend to get stuck, and sometimes you end up twisting the whole line. I'm not sure if this part I'm gonna have to reuse, and if that's so, I'm gonna have to buy another one, because it looks like the 2 braided lines that I have that came with the kit doesn't seem that long that it's going to reach all the way down here. So I don't know if that's the same line that reaches all the way over here. So, and you as well, if you're planning on reusing this line or any line when it's like a hydraulic line like that, you have to be very careful, because sometimes this hex head right here, the fitting, sometimes gets stuck over time with rust and corrosion, so it doesn't want to actually loosen up, and instead the whole line will start twisting. So just be careful with that. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and find out what size that hex head is. Alright, so now this line has been disconnected from the bottom line there, and now I need to pull. It has a little clip right here that you basically just have to pop out this way, and after that this line should just fall down. Don't think I'll be able to do it by hand. Nope. Need some, either a flathead or some pliers to pop it out. There we go. That took more effort than I thought. But here is the bracket, like I said, just goes in like that. Then it grabs on the like little edge that this has on the other side, so then it can no longer fall down. So all you have to do is pop it out like that. You know, depending on the limit of space, it can get a little bit challenging, but it's not the worst thing. So yeah, now we just set off that off to the side, because we will need it once we put the new one back on. Now I believe this should come off. Alright, so boy was I wrong. It was actually pretty rusted on there. The fact that it looked like it was soldered on there. It wasn't until I actually used the plumber's wrench and I actually grabbed onto the bottom right here and twisted that I finally noticed that it came unloose. Yeah, so this was basically up here like this, and I couldn't tell that it was a separate part. I was looking for something to unscrew. So yeah, once I got it and I twisted, it finally disconnected. And here to show you guys, yeah, that's pretty rusted right there. And I couldn't tell what was the bracket up here and what was this part. So yeah, I was like looking up here trying to see what I was missing. Here you can see the little lip or indentation where that bracket that we took off would slide into. So yeah, so after you take that off, if you see that it doesn't want to come off, go ahead and give it a twist, and here you can see the bite marks and it should come off. But yeah, this definitely has seen better days, and it's probably good that we are replacing it. And I didn't think about getting heat shield, so I might have to go out and grab that. I guess I can always put it in afterwards after I've already put it on there. But if it's damaged the hydraulic fluid already, then what would be the point of that? So I'll see if I can go to my local parts store and grab some before installing it. And so now that this is out, I'm gonna go ahead and take the tire off, then go ahead and take the splash guard off, and then we'll see where this line now goes to. And then if it is that same line that I do have, then I can go ahead and take it out as well. But if it's a different section, then it will have to stay on the car. Alright, so I just went ahead and took the wheel and tire off. I didn't show that. I mean, it's pretty basic. It's just 5 lug nuts. They're 21 millimeters. I do recommend, if you're going to take it off with just a regular, like a breaker bar or a ratchet, to do it when it's still on the floor. Because, or I guess if you have an automatic, it doesn't matter as much. I have a manual, so if I try to do it by hand with a breaker bar, it just turns. So if you have it up in the air, I recommend using a impact wrench. If not, set it down so it doesn't move, then break it off with the breaker bar. Once you have it lifted up, then you can take the rest of it off. But yeah, that's out of the way. Now we get here to the splash guard, and I believe this is held down by both some clips and then as well as some bolts on the ends here. So I think I'm just gonna try to take half of it off. We just need this space right here to where the line goes up to where the master cylinder is at. So I don't need to take all of it off. I don't want to do more work than I have to. So I'll probably take it off up to like right here. I think there's another bolt right there. So I'll take that off, and I'll see if I can fold it over to this side so that it's just out of the way. So I'm not gonna show the process of me taking off the splash guard because it's pretty simple. Like I said already, these are Phillips screw heads. Right here are these 3, and then there is a clip on the bottom right here, which mine has fallen off, but you can see if it had it on there, you would just unclip that. You have one right there, and then you have one right there, and then like I said, that one other Phillips screw head there. And if I decide to take more of them off, well, you have that one there, you have this clip right here, that clip right there, you have that one there, and another screw right there. So like I said, I'll start with this side right here. Hopefully that's enough where I can just move it off to the side. And if that doesn't work, well, I take all of it off. But I will talk to you guys once I've actually taken it off. Okay, so I didn't realize that the splash guard was actually 2 pieces. So I went ahead and actually took off this whole piece right here. And you can see that this other piece, the front piece, is still on there. And I did forget to mention there was one hidden clip that I didn't see. And I believe it was in this location right here. It was this one, or it was this one. But regardless, there was one on there that was making it tough. I wasn't like sure why it wasn't unclipping. It felt like it was snug on something, and I found it. And of course, once I took that one off, it basically just fell on itself. All right, and then I've gone ahead and taken a look here at the rest of the line, and I was a bit confused because, as you can see, the piece that we disconnected is this line right here, and then it goes up to this. Honestly, I don't know what this does, but the piece ends right here, and then the one that goes up to the master cylinder is this one that goes all the way up. And I didn't realize that the kit that I got basically eliminates all of this. So now the lines that the steel braided lines that I have now are slightly shorter, but that is because they were probably going to be routed through this opening. The the master cylinder is literally right above here. So instead of going this roundabout way where it's actually like OEM coming out right now, because that line's a little bit shorter, it will be coming out through here, and then it will end up where this line ended which is the one that we just disconnected to the soft line. So now that I am gonna have just 2 pieces of line, as opposed to having this one right here that we just took off, then having this line right here that ends right here, and then this one right here. So instead of having 3 lines plus this reservoir, whatever it is, now we'll just have 2 that will go directly from the master cylinder down to the slave cylinder. So what I'm going to do now is unbolt this clip right here, this bracket holding it down, and then I believe I'm still going to have to go ahead and take it apart, just because up here where it's being fed through, the whole line isn't gonna actually fit through, which is kind of a bummer. It would have been nice just to unclip the brackets that's holding it down and then moving it up from there. But no, I'm gonna have to take that bolt off. I'm gonna have to take these 2 bolts off to take this off, then disconnect the lines from here, and then this line I should be able to feed through the top right there. And then after that, I will go ahead and move on to disconnecting the master cylinder. All right, so starting off, I will remove the flange bolt from up here first, and then I will move that bracket, because if I remove the bracket first, once I start loosening this one up, there is a chance that the line is gonna wanna move out of the way. At least right now, it is secure on there. So removing that one is going to be a 10mm, the same as the bottom there. Hopefully these lines, they don't look rusted, so hopefully these all come out nice and easy. Yep, that one broke pretty quickly, pretty easily. Alright, and that one is disconnected. Now we can move on to this one here, and that one is also a 10mm. Okay, and this line should come off. And there we go. The bottom part, or I guess the middle piece, is out. Set that off to the side. Same with this top line. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the actual line first, and then I can go ahead and take those 2 bolts off to take this piece off. Okay, and finally, now that everything down here has been disconnected, we can finally move to up top. Alright, so the master clutch cylinder is going to be under the cover that says brake fluid, because the brake fluid is right there. This one right here is the one for the clutch system. And if we look down here, if we can get a good angle, you can almost see it. So that right there is the line that we'll be disconnecting. Right now this rubber line here that goes through the reservoir is kind of in the way, so you can't see the master clutch cylinder. But actually I will be removing that because I am putting new fluid on it. If I open this up, you can see just how black and dirty the reservoir is. So I'm assuming this line in here is also going to be just as bad. So I will be removing that, one, so it gives me room when I eventually start taking off the master cylinder, and 2, so I can actually get in there and clean it as good as possible so that it doesn't contaminate the new brake fluid that I put in there. So to start off, I am gonna go ahead and remove these 2 hex nuts right here. That's actually what is removing it, or what is holding it on to the firewall right there. I guess I could also remove it from here and it would leave the bracket on there, but I think I'm just gonna remove it from here. It seems like I have more space to remove them here than to remove these 2 right there. So remove that, and then I'll go ahead and unclip it from either here, or actually probably gonna see if I can unclamp it from that side right there, so that all of it can be removed, both the reservoir and the line, as one piece. And these 2 bolts down here are also 10mm. And just like that, we can move the reservoir out of the way. Not that there's much room where to put it. And now I'll go ahead and unclamp the line there. Probably won't show that just because there's not really a good angle where I can put you guys. But like I said, it's the same as this here. You just grab any like needle nose pliers or any kind of pliers, clamp them together, move it back, it'll pop out. Alright, so I guess I was wrong. I was able to push that clamp back, but that rubber hose is stuck. It's seized up onto the end of the master cylinder. So I guess I'm gonna go to the other thing, which is gonna be basically remove the line, and then after that I can go ahead and uninstall or remove the master cylinder by going inside and taking those two bolts off. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the reservoir, the line, and the master cylinder all together. And then once I'm out here, I can go ahead and separate the reservoir from the master cylinder. Alright, so here I have the last piece of the fluid line. I thought I was going to be able to take it from up top, but obviously with everything on here, it just kept on hitting things. So I ended up feeding it through that same entrance right there, but I went ahead and just fed it through the wheel well. These lines are they can bend, so I did have to bend it a little bit to be able to feed it through it, because if you can see, it has half a circle turn, so it was literally impossible to take it out down here without having to bend it a little bit. But honestly, the line is still in perfect condition. Just bend it back, and yeah, if you ever need it again, you can use it again. Now that this is out, I can move to inside of the car so I can locate where those two bolts are, so I can take out the master cylinder. Alright, so this right here is probably the best angle that I can give you guys right now, and I won't be able to show you as I'm taking the parts off because it's literally in my workspace, so I can't actually remove the bolt while I'm showing you guys. But you can kind of see right there the thread sticking out, so there is a nut right there that is holding on to the master cylinder from the inside. And then right back here, which you guys definitely can't see, is the other side, the other nut that's holding it onto. And then other than that, other thing you have to take off is this piece right here. It looks like a U. It's holding on. That's what actually attaches it to the clutch pedal. And there, you just saw it stuck to the floor, but actually that is a good angle. You need to remove this pin right here. So once you remove this pin out, you can actually push this rod out as well, and that way the fork, that U-shape fork that's holding onto it, can slide out once you have removed the two bolts on each side. I haven't checked to see what size that bolt is, or that nut is, so let me go ahead and check real quick. Alright, so it is a 12 millimeter. So what I'm going to use is going to be a deep socket. You will have to use a deep socket, or you can also, I believe you might be able to fit a wrench on there, although that is going to take quite a long time because there isn't that much space. That's like the space you have to work with. So I definitely recommend using a deep socket. And then I have a extension, and hopefully it's like a wobble extension, so hopefully that gives me a little bit more clearance. Can't even tell from this angle if it's actually getting loose or if it's not even connected. I'm gonna go check from the outside to see if it at least feels a little bit more wobbly. Alright, yeah, so I'm definitely doing something because it is loose on the outside when I pull on the master cylinder. So I'm just gonna keep on continuing, and hopefully I eventually see that nut starting to push out. Alright, and there is the first nut right here. Now it's time to remove the easier one that you guys can actually also see now. I think my socket might be too thick and is not seating down properly. Well, that's a bummer. Of course, it can never be too easy, right? So let me go ahead and I'm gonna grab a wrench and see if I can remove it like that. I definitely need to invest in some of those ratchet wrenches, because that would make this process at least a little bit quicker. But luckily, last time I had to replace it, I was smart enough not to over tighten it. So right now that I had to break it loose, it wasn't that tight at all. But here in half an hour, maybe an hour, should be done. And by done, I mean taking this nut off, not with the whole process of replacing everything. Alright, and there we have the second nut. Move that off to the side. And like I said, pop this clip out. Oh, it rotates, well that's good. Let's see if I can just... No, I can't grab it with my fingers. There we go. There's a pin there. Off to the side. Now, let's see here. The pin should pop out that way. Yeah. So I'm kind of worried it's going to fall behind the plastic trim down here. Let's see if I can get a better angle. Obviously not. Great. There we go. And here is the little, I guess, pin, another pin, and there you can see that's where the other pin went through this one. So move all that up to the side, and honestly now the master cylinder should come off out on the other side. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, and there we can see that the master cylinder is no longer flush with the firewall. I'm sure if I pull on this hose here, yep, it is coming out. See if I can do this with one hand. Maybe. Alright, let me go ahead and set you guys down here. Alright. Oh, that's not good. That's probably why my clutch pedal was sticking to the ground. It completely just came apart. So the fork that holds on, that gets actually connected to the pedal, should be one piece with this. And you can see that piece stayed and the rest of the master cylinder came out. I'm going to go ahead and set this down and clean, because quite a bit of brake fluid fell down there, so I need to clean that up. I'm going to try to get the other piece out. Well, here we have part of it. I believe this is some of the internals, so again, not good. It's a really good thing that it decided to replace everything rather than just, I was debating on just bleeding everything and putting new fluid on there again, but it's been a good possibility that that would have not fixed the issue. So remember kids, when in doubt, just throw parts at your car. Something will fix it. Alright, so the actual fork that connects to the brake, or to the clutch pedal, didn't come out, so I'm gonna go ahead and see if it is still inside. Alright, and here we have that missing piece. It did stay inside. So yeah, like I said, it was a good thing that I decided to replace the master cylinder as well, because yeah, this was definitely not in good conditions anymore. So now the next step is gonna be now installing the new master cylinder. But before that, everything, both my light and my camera, is dying, so I'm gonna actually use that time to recharge it. And like I said earlier in this video, I need to go to the auto parts store and actually get some heat shield wrap for the steel lines, for the hydraulic lines. So meanwhile everything's charging, I am gonna go ahead and grab that.